We've watched Vader, we've watched Palpatine, Kylo, Dooku, Thrawn. For nearly 50 years, Star Wars has shown us villains, but always from the same angle, always over a hero's shoulder. Maul Shadow Lord broke that rule. It handed the camera straight to the Predator, and that one technical decision small enough to miss quietly turned this into something Star Wars has never been before. The darkest production in the franchise's history, not because of what happens on screen, because of where you're standing when it does. Here's how a Disney Plus animated show became more morally suffocating than anything live-action Star Wars has ever attempted. Because by the time you finish this video, you're going to realize something uncomfortable. You were never just watching this show, you were participating in it. Here's the writing rule Star Wars has followed since 1977. The villain stands across from us. The hero represents us. Andor went dark, but Cassian was our anchor. The Mandalorian put a bounty hunter in the lead, but Din Djarin became the moral compass within 3 episodes. Bad Batch, Rebels, Clone Wars, every show gives you a protagonist whose values roughly map onto yours. The villain is always the other guy. Star Wars built its empire on that contract. Camera on the right side of the line. Maul Shadowlord refuses to honor that contract. Devon isn't the hero, she's the target. Ducky isn't the hero, he's the obstacle. Brander Lawson isn't the hero, he's collateral. Every character orbits one center of gravity, and that center isn't moral, it's predatory. The story has one main character, and that character is Maul. Not Maul, but complicated. Just Maul. The same Maul who cut down Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. The same Maul who overthrew Mandalore and murdered its Duchess. The villain, full stop, gets the camera. Here's what most people miss. The camera doesn't follow him. Following implies distance. An observer looking in. The camera in Shadow Lord stands where Maul stands. When he plans, we see what he sees. When he waits, we wait with him. That's the structural break. Nearly 50 years of Star Wars writing rooms instinctively wrote villains as what the hero must overcome. Dave Filoni's writers wrote one as who you're with, same character. Different camera, completely different show. And that switch is what makes everything that follows possible. When you watch a villain from a hero's side, you only ever see his results. The body on the floor, the grieving Padawan. You see what evil produces. When you watch a villain from his own side, you see his process. That's what Shadow Lord spent 10 episodes doing, almost gently, laying out Maul's complete operating manual on a single target. And if you know the language of psychological manipulation, every episode reads like a textbook chapter. Episode 1 ends with Maul's shadow falling over Devon's cell. Episode 2, The Rescue. Maul saves her, brings her to his hideout. That's love bombing. Establish yourself as her protector before she has a reason to trust you. Episode 3, The Tea Ceremony. Sam Witwer modeled this on a real tea ceremony he attended in Kyoto. Quiet, intimate, disarming. That's mirroring. Show her the version of yourself she needs to see. Across the season, isolation. Every time Daki tries to pull Devon back toward the Jedi path, Maul reframes him. He's old, he's naive. He doesn't understand what the galaxy has become. This is gaslighting, textbook form. Undermine her trust in her existing anchor. Then the bigger moves. The reframe. The Jedi indoctrinated her since childhood. Strip her belief system. The rage transfer. Every time he loses control, he points her at someone else. Sam Witwer described it himself in one sentence to Comic Book. You're watching it happen, whether the person gives the okay or not. That's the show telling on itself. This is a manipulation textbook with the names left in. We have seen corruption in Star Wars before. We watched Anakin fall across 3 prequel films, but always at arm's length. through Palpatine's schemes, through war trauma, through systems failing him. Even his worst choices played out in front of us, not next to us. We saw him slaughter the younglings. We didn't sit in the war room while he planned it. Shadow Lord shows us the war room. We're not watching the fall. We're sitting next to the person engineering it. Now, ask yourself a question you might not want to answer. When Maul fought the Inquisitors, who were you rooting for? When the tea ceremony played, did you find it beautiful? These weren't accidents, these were traps, and the writer's room laid them deliberately. Supervising director Brad Rao put it in plain language in a post-finale interview. We love Maul so much, but even though we are now cheering for him with our good guys, we needed to showcase that he is a very bad guy. That sentence is not a writer reluctantly admitting something. It's a warning. The entire team knew exactly what they were doing. They were going to seduce the audience first, make you like him, lean toward him, and then make you watch what that liking actually costs. The finale is the bill arriving. Master Daki dies because Maul designed it. 3 steps executed in under 5 seconds. Push Daki forward, remove his agile saber form, leave him exposed to Vader. 3 birds, 1 stone. Surgical, cold, calculated. And here's the cruelty of the writing. You were warming up to this guy 10 episodes ago. This is what I mean by the invention of complicity. Sympathy for bad people isn't new, but every previous show kept the camera in a third-person register. You watched them choose, you judged, you stayed outside. Shadow Lord puts you inside. The framing, the score, the way Maul's voice softens around Devon, every craft decision pulls you toward him. By episode 8, you've spent more screen time in his head than in anyone else's. You're inside it. So when the finale lands and you realize what you were watching, the discomfort isn't really about Maul. It's about you. Watch the betrayal again. Maul's force push happens fast. Most viewers missed it on the first watch. Daki gets shoved into Vader's range, the killing strike lands, and the scene moves on. The moment is so quick that people online are still arguing about what they actually saw. That speed is the design. Maul's entire plan depends on the moment having only one conscious witness. Devon didn't see it. Lawson, lost in the mist, may or may not have seen it. You saw it, and the show knew you would. Devon's tragedy doesn't begin with Daki's death. It begins with what she's about to spend the rest of her life believing that Vader killed her master. She will train under the man who actually killed him. She will fight beside him. She will trust him. We will know the truth the entire time. This is the cost of complicity, the most quietly cruel thing Filoni has ever done. You don't get to leave this show feeling clever. You don't get to leave it feeling vindicated. You leave it carrying a secret you can't tell anyone inside the story because no one inside the story is asking you. You watched every brick get laid. You called the character elegant while she was being measured for a coffin. You enjoyed the tea ceremony. You rooted for the rescue. Maul making her his apprentice isn't a victory. It's the writers reminding you, you watched this happen. You didn't just watch. You agreed. Darkness isn't events. Darkness is position. Plenty of Star Wars productions have shown us terrible things. Han frozen in carbonite. Obi-Wan cut down by Vader on the Death Star. Order 66. The younglings in the Jedi Temple. But every single time, the camera kept its compass. Han froze, and we grieved with Leia. Obi-Wan fell, and we watched through Luke's eyes. Order 66 played out, and the emotional weight stayed with the Jedi being hunted, not the clones pulling the triggers. Even when Anakin walked into the Jedi Temple in his darkest hour, the camera stopped at the threshold of violence. We were spared the room. There was always a moral handhold somewhere in the frame. Shadow Lord removed the handhold. When Daki fell, we weren't next to a grieving Padawan processing the loss with her. We were next to the man who arranged it. When the rescue played, we weren't watching a Jedi escape, we were watching a recruiter close on a target. When the tea ceremony unfolded, we weren't witnessing a moment of grace. We were watching technique. This is moral darkness, not visual darkness. The animation is gorgeous. The lighting is warm. There's barely any blood. Disney Plus is fine with all of it. And that's the genius of what Filoni snuck through. He didn't make Star Wars darker by adding violence. He made it darker by moving the camera 6 inches to the left, out from behind the hero, over to the side of the Predator. Same franchise, same animation pipeline, same Saturday afternoon time slot. Different position, completely different ethical weight. This is the darkest Star Wars has ever been. And almost nobody is talking about why. Maul's evil isn't new. The Sith have been evil for nearly 50 years. Until now, Star Wars asked you to oppose the villain. Shadow Lord moved the camera, and for 10 episodes straight, it stood next to him. Then, in the final 10 minutes, it turned around and showed you what sitting there had cost. Daki fell, Lawson lost, Devon broke. You were in the room. Drop a comment. Did you catch the force push the first time you watched? I want to know how many of us became witnesses without knowing it. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.